Dear human, dear soul, I welcome you to my podcast series, Conversations with the Universe. Since a near-death experience, I have the gift to communicate with subtle levels of the cosmos. The knowledge from these for us invisible forms of energy I capture in my books, and it is now a great pleasure for me to share this knowledge, these conversations, with you as a supplement to the books. Please excuse me if the terms and articulations are not perfect. Our mother tongue is German, but we try to translate it to the best of our abilities. Thank you. Dear King Salomon, welcome.
Hello.
Today I will try to ask the questions so that they can bring the people of our time close to your life in your time. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely.
Good. Please, would you like to tell us what the first years of your childhood that you remember were like when you were a little boy?
Very well. When you imagine a loving childhood in your most beautiful dreams, then you will have come quite close to my experience, because it was very joyful. When worldly concerns upset me, as you call it, then my parents and companions were very loving to me. All in all, joy of life was the prevailing energy. But sometimes I was a little concerned owing the old forms of behavior of the powerful people of the time, which were advising my parents. The loveless and disrespectful behavior of the merchants, innkeepers, or other industrials was upsetting to me, and I wanted to make the world a better place. But it was only a matter of time until I could implement that. But surely you ask about the circumstances of my home as I experienced it as a human child. They were very loving, full of energy, soft and warm. I grew up peacefully in the company of friends and other students, and I enjoyed the carefree time untouched by responsibility.
Thank you for these first sentences. They paint a beautiful picture of your origins physically as well as spiritually. You have talked about advisors. Could you also call them priests?
Yes and no.
Had your company, had the people of your time one or more gods that they prayed to?
One.
And did you all feel that in your world, that this God has given you laws according to which your entire life was regulated?
Oh yes.
And were you happy with these messages, these laws, or did you reflect on them and question them?
No, I was not happy, because they seemed rigid and cold to me. There was little flexibility, little individuality, little love.
Did you have a person with whom you could discuss these thoughts and these doubts with regard of these rigid laws?
Yes.
Who was the person? Who were these people?
They were the friends of my parents, their children, and they themselves. My parents, such as their friends. We were always called upon to obey these rules, but we were encouraged to question them in their entirety.
I have the feeling that you were a loving community that was on the best way to formulate newer, more encompassing, more loving rules. Am I right?
Oh yes.
Did you in your time have a sort of segregation of the sexes that would assign different domains to men and women?
Yes.
Did you have only male friends, or were there also girls among your friends?
You know that this segregation did not really allow friendships on an equal footing. But my beloved became such a friend to me. Yet if you ask about my childhood, at the time there were only men and boys amongst my friends.
I know that for the people of our time it is an important emotional impulse to understand how you and the people of your time have spent their day. Can you please talk about a typical day? What you ate for breakfast, what you did then, your lunch and your evening and your night, please?
I can do that with pleasure. But to what time are you referring?
Well, when you were a boy of 10 years, what did a typically day in your life looks like?
When I was 10 years young, my day started with prayer and afterwards work in the school. They were private teachers who instructed here. Afterwards, the sun was so strong on the horizon that I went to sleep over midday in order to rest and to relax. After that, we all went with our friends to spend the evening together in order to enjoy life and to be. But as a young child, my day was not very full of obligations. Yet the evening company still provided a nice balance, although it did not last as long for us as for the adults.
Can you also please tell me what you were eating during the day? What your diet was like in your day?
The flat bread that you know today was the base of our diet. This was accompanied by many sauces and various herbs that were mixed into it. Then there were delicious sweets that made the mixing of the flatbread with the latter still more interesting. Then we drank a special juice made from the fruit of the pomegranate, as you call it, another fruit, but I preferred the former.
Many thanks for this report. It conjures up the life in which you grew up very vividly. Do you therefore understand these questions?
Oh, yes.
Did you pray? Didn't you pray at night before you went to bed?
No.
Really?
No.
So only in the morning?
Yes. It was important to greet the power of God in the morning. But you did not say goodbye to it at night, because you do not really say goodbye just to go to sleep. Because this power is active continually. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand, but still you greeted it again in the morning.
Yes. Because it was given back into our consciousness.
I understand. We have been taught the cosmic cross by the White Brotherhood as a morning prayer in which we ask for the energies of the cosmos from above, below, left and right to unite in our heart in order to cleanse and make us free to embark on a new path. Did you have such a prayer as well that was connected to a mental ritual?
Yes.
May I ask you to tell us about your morning prayer, your ritual?
We prayed to the sun, which we took into our hearts through a movement of the left arm and also of the right arm. Then we lay down on the earth onto our backs in order to feel this energy even more deeply and to immerse the whole body into this energy. The special incantations of prayer that were spoken then were taught to us in the school.
That means that you did not kneel on the floor and look down, but you did exactly the opposite?
Yes.
Hello. Is it permitted to tell us a verse of the Sun Prayer?
It is, with pleasure. You work in this body as in nature, like the breath of life. You are the beginning and the end. You will be with me for all time, for your power is the power of God. Thanks be to the cosmic power of the Holy Father.
That is a wonderful, powerful and loving prayer of gratitude and awareness. Are we permitted in our time also to speak these words to humility and love?
Of course it is. But you are living these words already through your rituals.
Yes, I would consider it as a form of love and respect for your time, your soul and your work. And I'm sure that there will be people that would like to speak these words in honor of you and your time. Are these people permitted to do that?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Were you aware that there was a sun god in Egypt and that the Egyptians prayed to him in their own way as well?
Yes.
Did you know this from old traditions that you were told about the land of Egypt?
Yes.
Was the land of Egypt's country of friends of you, a neutral country or a country of enemies?
It was a country of old enemies. But I was not interested in these political structures. I was more interested in the details of this belief.
Could you say that you and the people of your world developed the love of God and the prayer to the sun by yourselves, and that you were not influenced by foreign teachings?
I cannot really tell you anything about the origins. It was as it was, and everyone felt it deep inside of them, through their consciousness. One of them spoke to one person, and the other one to the sun, the next one to the cosmic father. If you are looking for the details, you will never be finished. The information is of a different kind. There was a power to which we prayed. This power was positive, loving, strong, and light. It was worshipped wrongly in some forms, but in the final analysis, it was good.
I can imagine that your teachers instructed you in language and writing and probably also taught you mathematical acutance. You were raised in the royal family and you had to be as strong as a man and a leader can. Was there also physical exercise, like, for instance, riding, archery, and other things that a young man had to learn?
There were such activities, but I did not like them.
They were too hard and too cold, right?
Right.
I understand.
They were very rough. I was rather sensitive.
When you say this, I'm receiving a vivid image in my mind's eye. Was there music that you liked?
Oh, yes.
Can you describe what kind of music was what you liked in your day?
Very different ways. The women singing, they danced to the music of guitar-like instruments and also to flutes, but there were also other sitar-like constructs available. Drums. All of this together was played in orchestras, as you would call it. Sometimes small, sometimes big, sometimes more numerous, sometimes fewer players. All in all, very playful.
Were you also able to play an instrument, or did you rather listen?
No, it was too complicated for me.
Was there something that we would call poetry today?
Oh, yes.
Did you yourself have access to poetry?
Yes, of course. I loved to formulate the sentences and began to play with them like a philosopher.
Ah. Did you, in this wonderful childhood that you are talking about, and it appears like a warm, wonderful, glowing images in the colors of the sunset, did you in those days have the feeling that you, and I use the word in all humility, were an exceptional human being?
No.
You were one amongst many friends?
Yes.
How did you become aware in your later life that you were exceptional among humankind?
When I asked different questions from the others, then all of this began to blossom inside me like a light that others did not know. And then I had wise supporters who assured me that my perception was very unusual. But most of all, I began to realize and accept this when I heard the voices.
Were you, before you heard the voices for the first time, aware that in the body in which you were permitted to live in these days, there was a soul that had experienced previous lives in the body? Were you aware of previous lives in general?
Yes and no.
So did you become aware after your first meeting with the voices that your soul had been incarnated several times before in a body?
Yes. I did ask them about that, because I wanted to understand what happened, why I was able to perceive this and others were not. Therefore I asked them about my other lives, and the details were very interesting.
You have said in a previous conversation that you had a teacher in one of the earliest lives. Did this teacher give something to your soul that allowed you later, when you were Salomon, to develop the aptitude to hear the voices?
That is a good question, because everything always works in connection with everything else. Maybe this was also a seed that was sown all those years ago in Lemuria. But also, the lives devoid of any aptitude or life tasks were part of the path that brought them to fruition at the end, or better at the time with those possibilities as king.
The question I'm asking now is based on the scientific thought of our time. Still, I'm asking your permission to ask it. Today's scientists have found that there were leaps of development that allowed humans to develop language at all. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Was there something in your body, in your physicality development, that was so exceptional that only you alone could become the person that you were when you lived as Salomon? Was there a disposition in your body to hear those voices that was only possible in your body?
Sorry, I do not understand the question.
I understand. I will try to word this differently. I believe, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that in the body, in the physical human body, there is something like an inner ear that in some people is highly developed and in other people not developed at all, so that you can hear voices from the other worlds or not, as the case may be. Is that correct, or is that a erroneous thought?
I do not know.
Okay, well then, let us keep talking about this for a little while longer, please, because I suspect that there was a great readiness in your soul to recognize that voices. Can I put it in that?
So what you mean to say is, were the possibilities of this life so auspicious that this gift could experience its fullest development in the best sense?
Yes, I couldn't put it in a better way. You understood me completely.
Yes, this could be, yes.
That leads me to another question. I have had a conversation with someone about the subject just yesterday. When we do things to our human bodies that make us foggy and rotten, numb, I'm talking here about alcohol, harmful food like too much sugar, fat, meat, etc., or drugs, then we close the channels of reception of the spiritual planes, right?
Right.
And when we desist and cleanse ourselves, then we are open for the other worlds again.
Yes.
Were you aware, or did they teach you that the cleansing of the body is the basis for spiritual perception?
Yes, absolutely. But it was also always an innate impulse to live these kinds of purity, to be interested in it. You understand? When there is no inner willingness, then you do not need a teacher either, because you will not listen to him. But there was a kind of kingly wisdom in me, a kind of realization that said, take heed, this is a unique chance, use it every day. And part of this was a wise diet.
Wow. I'm asking for the following reason, and you understand me, and you know the reason for my questions. Some people believe that when they deny themselves all enjoyment of life and become ascetics, so only eat water and bread and deny themselves sensual pleasures, that they would then be open to perceive God. I am of the opinion that the joy of life in the form of conscious and sensible physical pleasures, that find expression in love, song and dance, and also in a sensible diet will create a far better receptivity for the beauty of the cosmos and the spiritual worlds. Do you agree?
These people are in denial of the loss of energy that goes hand in hand with the loss of joy. But this energy is so important spiritually that no bread and no water of this world could ever replace it. This is why I would give this student an E according to your system, or maybe better, an F. Altogether wrong, completely wrong. The castigation of the body should not use up all of the joyful energy. On the contrary, it should enhance it and raise it, because like you yourself have experienced several times by now, it is only this form of energy that can enrich the soul or lose the soul.
I thank you very much for these words, especially also for the following reason. We, in our world, have a certain traditional philosophy and a certain tradition of spiritual thinking. And in this tradition, you are considered one of the wisest people that ever lived. I say this without any judgment, so it is, and you know it. And I think it is wonderful and exemplary and like a beacon in the darkness that you, who are regarded as the wisest of all humans, are calling out to the people. Enjoy your senses. Love one another, men and women. Love each other with all your senses. Take food in order that you may enjoy it. Laugh, dance, sing, enjoy, and live in your body as the instrument that can perceive the spiritual worlds. I'm saying this so clearly because there is also another great tradition in our so-called spiritual schools that preaches the contrary. Denial, joylessness, asceticism, and therefore I thank you so much for this, your call through the ages, as to how important it is to celebrate life in a healthy and measured way with all the senses that we were given.
My pleasure.
When were you first aware that you were to be a wise man in the eyes of your people?
When my parents, decision makers, had been talking nonsense again.
How old were you then?
7.
Oops. Were you happy about that? Or were you also a little scared? What was the feeling like?
A wonderful, uplifting energy. To live this goal, to approach it.
Please forgive my next question. I'm only asking it because I'm not that knowledgeable in history. Did you have siblings?
No.
I understand. So there were no questions, no problem, and why? Because you were the son and you would become the king.
No.
And no?
I mean, yes.
And everyone prepared you in everything for what a king had to do.
Yes.
I imagine this to be wonderful. Did they teach you that the fate of many people would depend on your word?
Yes, they did.
And did they teach you the law of your country? And if so, from what age?
Yes, they did, from the age of 16.
And how old were you when you were proclaimed king?
Far over 20.
What I now say, I say in great joy, in affection, in love, and in humility. You have already spoken about your beloved, and I'm so happy across all times that you were permitted this gift of love, and that you did not have to live a lonely life, but that you found the woman with whom your soul, your heart, and your body was happy. May I ask you how you met and when?
Asya was the daughter of my parents' friends. She was my dancing partner when we were given the rites of passage. I was 18 years young then. Everyone wanted to dance with her, but she wanted only me. That was very pleasant. That was our beginning.
I assume that she was a very beautiful young woman, was she?
Oh, yes, extremely.
Were you allowed to spend time together, just the two of you alone, or were you always under observation?
Yes, alone was possible.
And how soon after your wonderful first meeting were you allowed to get married?
A few weeks.
Oops, that fast?
This happened very quickly in those days. As long as the energy of connection was strong, you wanted to celebrate it.
And did you find out whether you had already met in previous lives?
No,
So that was your first time?
I do not know.
Ah. So it was not really something that was important to you, right?
Right.
I understand, and she loved and protected you and watched over you as a woman that loves her man, right?
Yes, absolutely. She was the love of my life.
That is wonderful to hear. And are you in connection with each other in your current form of existence as well?
Yes and no.
May I ask you to be a bit more specific if you can?
She's currently back in a body, but I do not wish to incarnate anymore. So our souls will stay in connection, but on different levels.
That leads me to a very, very important question. Have you ever in your physical life consciously formulated the thought, please, I no longer wish to be incarnated into another body?
No.
Did you first realize this on the other level?
Yes.
How did you arrive at this realization? Can you please describe that?
A deep sadness that the life that I was leading was so rich in exceptional possibilities. Such possibilities that are so rare, rarer than you can put it into words. Led me to decide not to choose this kind of work any longer, but to convey my messages and my assistance as a spiritual energy.
That is very interesting. I say this because our friend, brother and teacher, friend of the Indians, told me one day that when you decide while in a body that you no longer wish to incarnate, that the soul from this moment on starts to prepare for transition into a kind of existence that it had never known before. If you say now that this was also possible for you after you had arrived on the spiritual levels, then I would like to ask you to tell us what your last days and weeks in this life were like. What were your feelings when you realized that you would have to leave this body very soon?
When their physical energy diminishes, then perception also is dimmed, as you can imagine. So, therefore, I lost all of the other kinds of feelings that I had known before. The wish to go on a different journey grew in me, and I never looked back.
I asked the questions from the perception of a human being. I would like you to know this before I ask the question. Is there something that we would call the connection of friendship? Have you got other beings around you with whom you feel connected in friendship in life?
But yes, you know this.
Yes, I ask for the people that will read this book or hear this podcast, and so will learn for the first time about things that they haven't come across before. For instance, about your perception of the other worlds, your perception of the other beings. And that leads me to another question. You said once that your dearest wish now in this, your current state of being, in which you are currently active, is to expand spiritually. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Please try to explain this to a human being who lives in a body and is still thinking in terms of space and time. How can we imagine this expansion in the regions where you now live and feel?
A very simple description. If you imagine that your soul is an orb that enables you to feel within the space of this orb, and then imagine that it can expand, can widen, is flexible, round, oval, cube-like, can take different shapes.
So the widening of the shape means that it can perceive more, right?
Right. This is the goal that goes along with the expansion. To expand perception further, and with that enter into the connection with all those things that you had never perceived before.
This is a fantastic explanation, and please understand that I asked the question from the point of view of human experience, thinking and perception. Do you have the impression that in your current existence you feel the source more clearly than you could in a human body?
Funny question. Of course.
Yes, dear brother, I have to ask slowly and step by step so that we may follow you.
Like a bird that sees all the possibilities of the sunrise and sunset at a glance. I see everything with different eyes now. And yes, I also see the source much more clearly now, and I'm therefore connected a little more strongly with it than was possible from the point of view of a physical body.
You see? And the people will read this sentence or hear it now, and it will resonate with them and create an echo, as if you had stuck a chord in an instrument. The meme imagination of this wonderful image of the bird soaring high in the sky, perceiving sunrise and sunset at a single glance, expands the imaginations in the human brain. I use this word quite deliberately, and it allows the people on earth to feel there is more to life than their mundane, everyday desires. Do you understand now why I have prepared these questions like this, step by step?
Yes, Sylvia, of course.
That is wonderful. Now, another slightly more human question in order to remain in contact with your previous life. They say that in this human world that you had many horses. Is that true?
This is relative. What is many?
Okay, I'm starting to count and you say a stop. Shall we play this game?
If you want to start counting the hours now, be my guest.
Okay, let's joke a little. That's part of the game. Did you have more or less than 100 horses?
More?
Did you have more or less than 1,000 horses?
No.
You see? Do you have more? Less than 500 horses?
Less?
Did you have around 400 horses?
Yes.
You see, now we have an image because the people are always talking about the fact that someone had so many horses. It seems to mean a lot of them. No other question. In our present time, there is a race of horses that is considered the most valuable race. We call them the Arab horses. These are the highest bred, most pampered, most noble horses. What kind of horses did you have in those days? Okay. Were they more on a small side? Were they large, robust, slender, or sinewy?
Okay. There were many different types of horses, Sylvia. Some were tall, some were black, others brown.
That tallies with the image that we have created in our imagination of your realm and your life and all of the things that belong to you. Did you have people that concentrated on breeding this race of horses further?
Yes.
You see. So it can be that these horses have served as the breeding stock for our present time, highly bred Arab horses.
Amongst others, yes. Many people specialize in something, even a shoemaker.
Right. And because I would like to tell the people something about your everyday emotions, did you like the horses?
Yes.
Did you go chariot riding with them?
No.
How did you travel through your lands?
I traveled relatively little. But when I did, then I had to use these horses, yes. Don't get me wrong, I did not like this. It wasn't very comfortable.
Yes, I can understand that.
But yes, it was the only way to travel long distances. But I preferred to walk. because the feeling on the soles of my foot connecting me to the earth.
Yeah, you see. And these questions and answers show the people of today how you every day looked like. And they make you someone, turn you into a being we can grasp and understand. Do you therefore understand my questions?
Yes.
I have the mental image, and you will tell me whether this is true or not, that you have lived in a great joy and in your loving, kingly power in your place and in your palace, and that you have experienced with great joy the love to your life, and that you liked it when people approached you, right?
Yes, absolutely. I loved ruling more than traveling.
And the people knew after some years of your rule that you had the answer to many questions, that they had not been able to find answers themselves, right?
Right.
Because of your bird's eye view of human problems, right?
Right.
And they often sought your counsel and then took the counsel you have given them to heart.
Yes.
Did this counsel ever develop into laws?
But of course.
And did you have people that we now would call civil servants who wrote down your laws?
Yes.
And did they write it down in clay tablets, on papyrus, on paper? How did you write?
All carved in stone.
In stone?
Yes.
That is interesting. Could you find legislative texts of your area somewhere still?
I do not know.
Have they found any so far?
No.
Or have they all been lost?
Yes.
Oh, they all have been lost.
Rather lost and broken.
But now in this book, you have and will have the possibility to document much of this again.
Yes.
This is very important to us.
For me too.
Men and women back in your culture lived rather separate from each other?
Yes.
But surely you lived together with your life, didn't you?
Sometimes, but not always.
Oh, how did you live together then?
I wished to keep the possibility to sleep separately, because I needed the advices that I perceived at night. That was important to me. This is why we had separate bedrooms.
In order to give the people feeling for your life. Did you have a very quiet bedroom?
Oh, yes.
Was it on the first floor or on a higher floor?
On the higher floor?
Did you receiving these messages strengthen you, or did it also sometimes tire you?
It only strengthened me, because it worked like an energy shower. Everything was energized, the spirit, the body, the senses, everything.
Did you have the feeling that these advisors also talked to you during the day after sunrise to make it possible for you to pass on their advices, or was it only possible at night?
It was only possible at night, because during the day there were many distractions. I could not concentrate on them during the day. Maybe it would have been possible had there not been any people around me. Sorry. But there were always people around me.
Did you have the feeling, or was it like that these messages were meant to improve the society of the people in which you lived and whose king you were? Was there, for instance, any advice on how parents and children should deal with each other?
Yes.
Can you remember such a piece of advice? Can you tell it to us?
This person's soul is a guest on this planet. You are its only protection until this person can look after itself and live independently. Now this responsibility and carry it out in dignity, mindfully, lovingly, and humanly.
You see, and now this sentence has been called back into life. I thank you. I will try to ask about as many such subjects as possible so that you can remember such phrases and we can record them.
Yes, please. Please do that.
A very complex question, which has become very, very important again in our time, is the relationship between men and women. There are still different cultures on this planet, and they live very differently from each other. One of the oldest forms of society was the segregation of men and women. I will not ask now why it was so. It just was. But did the advisors have any advice on the relationship between men and women? And did you pass on this advice, for example, to the men?
Yes.
Can you pass it on to us, please?
Be, and that what you are in its most loving, our most peaceful form, and stop to be other than the sex that has been assigned to you. Honor, love, and respect the other sex, but most of all, live yours. Women, be women. Man, be man. And love one another in the forms that have been given you.
Did you have the feeling that the people back in your day, when you passed this advice on to them, understood? And that at least some of them were able to live accordingly?
Yes, I think so.
Did you have the feeling that many people or some people in your society experienced the thoughts that they encountered through your as a sort of liberation?
Yes, but many a person did not wish for this liberation. They loved the old forms too much. This led to conflict. But as always, there was a possibility to solve this conflict in a loving way.
You know that people need images in order to understand something better. Have the people in your time, when they heard you, and I'm using this word deliberately, revolutionary wisdom, did they think that you passed on the word of God to them? Or did they believe and think that it was exclusively your own opinion?
I carried the responsibility of the king, not of a priest, and therefore these were my own words.
You mentioned the word, which leads me to the next question. Did you have good relations to the priesthood of your time?
Yes, I think so. Well, not so well, how to say.
You have given society very wise words, words that one would suspect to have come from the priesthood. How did the clerics react to the fact that you, as a king, disseminated these words of wisdom, since this was really their task?
They did not want that.
Look, I thought so. And that is why I ask. You see, I can imagine that there was such a thing as jealousy or envy or competition.
But I gave them the space in which they could work, and I tried not to put them under too much pressure from my messages. All in all, diplomatic skills.
But I suspect and I assume and know that your beloved wife knew about your encounters with the advisors, right?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, may I ask why you did not tell her?
Because this would have overtaxed her perception, and it would have destabilized my position in their eyes.
I understand. A very sensitive, very complex subject. Could you even tell it to another person?
No.
No. It was your secret?
Yes.
I understand. Did the advisors ever wish you to tell the people that it was they who passed their advice on to you?
No.
There is an ancient tradition that all people, that the human beings were created by the gods. The people call extraterrestrial strange cultures, civilization in space. Well, they call them gods. Was there such a story, such a belief in your society?
Yes, of course, there was. But I had always wanted to know who these gods were, and therefore I was very happy to have met, albeit not the gods themselves, but other beings that had better answers for me than any human being before that.
Is there something here and now that you would like to tell me on your own accord without me knowing the questions at this time?
A world comes alive when we enliven it, not through waiting, not through contemplating. I have had the possibilities to use my human tools to give impulses, and I had helpful advisors from outside in order to do that, which a person born with my expectations is called upon to do on a daily basis. To leave only loving traces. I have done this as often and as much as I could, as powerfully, as lovingly as I could. And I'm very happy about this and very grateful for this. Therefore, I would like to make people understand that life is a unique chance to use the tools, whichever they are, that each of us has been given, and to live and to seek out the connection to the cosmos every day in infinite ways, and, through this, to finally reunite what the humans have separated, but which belongs together. Cosmos and matter, matter and cosmos. They both vibrate within each, with each other, for each other, through each other, and they work together. It will always be thus. It was always thus. And when the human being realizes his potential in this game of energies, he will become, each and every one of them, a god.
Wow. You have put this very beautifully. I believe this is a great final sentence for today, right?
Right. I thank you with all of my heart.
Oh, I thank you so much for everything up to here. Thank you. Love.
Thank you, Sylvia. Love.